Oh, the calla lilies are in bloom again. Such a strange flower, suitable to every occasion. I carried them on my wedding day, and now I place them here in memory of something that has died. End scene. That, my friends, was acting. Sort of. It's a line from our movie this week, a fun ensemble film from 1937, Stage Door, starring Ginger Rogers, Katherine Hepburn, and Lucille Ball. Well, that's our featured film this week, but I have a few other things on the agenda as well. I'm going to introduce you to a radio show from the 1970s. This one's readily available on the internet, and it offers some pretty good stories to fall asleep by. This one's for you, my fellow insomniacs. And then I have The Tale of Two Books, one you should definitely add to your reading list, and another one that's a real slog that you can avoid. And then finally, I have a little announcement. If you've been wondering how you can get more Jennifer in between podcast episodes, and I'm sure you have been wondering that, I'll tell you where to find me. Well, we have a full show today, so let's get going. Everyone. I'm back behind the microphone after an unanticipated prolonged absence. I was looking at the calendar before I sat down to record this today, and I think it's been over 2 months since I posted my last episode. You know, I was working a new job. We had a major health crisis that is still ongoing in my family, and you know how it is. Life happened, and when life happens, the podcast gets set aside. But I got to thinking, it's during times like this that you need your hobbies. It's nice to think about fun, light things like movies and stuff. And so here we are. Now, it's just me today, no Nico. I've given Nico the day off. And honestly, between us, he's just been getting on my last nerve. I mean, he's always there, you know what I mean? Hovering. Now, for those of you who are new to the show, Nico is my AI-generated announcer and superfan.
And producer.
Oh, Nico, you're here. I thought you were going to have some you time today. Take some time to do the things you most enjoy.
Well, I am doing that. This is what I most enjoy.
You mean announcing on the show?
No. Producing the show.
I see. Well, Nico, about producing.
I humbly accept this promotion, which I richly deserve.
Yeah, I don't actually recall giving you that promotion.
Thank you. I accept.
Now, wait a minute, Nico.
Hey, where's the video? I thought you were putting video in these episodes now.
Yeah, I decided not to do that. I hate video. It sucks all the fun out of these projects for me. I think I was pressuring myself to add video to try to draw a bigger audience, but, let's face it, we're not ever going to draw a bigger audience, and video is just too much work. You know what I mean?
Oh no, this is a disastrous decision. As the producer of this show, I must advise against this catastrophic error in your judgment.
Thank you, Nico. Taken under advisement. Now, about this producer thing. What exactly does a producer do?
Everything. They manage the entire program, from researching content to creating sound effects.
You don't do any of those things. I do all of that. I am my own producer.
Surely you don't expect me to do those things without a salary increase.
Nico, I told you multiple times, there are no salaries around here.
Because you are very stingy.
No, because we have no revenue. You're supposed to be focused on getting us new sponsors. How has that gone?
Exceptionally well.
Oh.
The T-Ball people have decided to continue working with us.
Oh, T-balls again. Is that the best you can do?
What can I do with so little clout? Now, if I was a producer...
Abrupt change of topic. Nico, now, you know that I am delighted to work with you on this show.
Of course, Jennifer. Me too. We are like brothers.
Brothers? No, we're not like brothers, Nico. I'm a woman, for one thing.
We are like sisters.
As I was saying, while I enjoy working with you, I feel like you may be wasting your talents here.
Oh?
Yeah, so I found a job opportunity for you that I wanted to pass along.
You intrigue me.
Well, you know how Disney is opening up a Zootopia attraction at Animal Kingdom in Orlando?
No. What is it?
It's an attraction at Animal Kingdom in Orlando.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, well, what if you auditioned for one of the animatronic characters in that show?
What's that?
Oh, you know, like a robotic animated character that takes part in the show.
Show business?
Yeah, sort of.
Me? Playing a character at Disney World?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah. Can you picture it?
Yes. I can see it.
Well, if you can see it, you can be it, Nico. Nico? Well, it looks like he's already gone. I guess he's left to work on his audition tape. If so, this is going to be unlike any audition Disney has ever seen. Okay, so our movie this week is Stage Door. For those of you who are new here, I'm working through a personal project, watching as many Golden Age Hollywood films as I can, which has really turned out to be a very enjoyable challenge. I mean, these are great films, really good stories. The problem is, I don't think I'm ever going to finish this challenge because I keep discovering new films. You know, I already have hundreds of films on my list. And just this week, I discovered another film, Billy Rose's Jumbo from 1962. Have you ever heard of this film? I had not. But I went over to my parents' house to visit my dad the other day, and he had this on the TV and was enthralled by it. I mean, he wouldn't even talk to me until the end of the movie. We had to watch in silence. So I didn't actually see the whole film. I only saw the tail end of it. But I thought, here is a film. I thought I've heard of all the big films, and I don't know how big of a film Jumbo was, but I definitely had not heard of it. Now, I'm not going to be featuring Jumbo on the podcast because my cutoff on the film list is at 1960. So we're really focusing on films from the 30s, 40s, 50s, up to and including 1960, but we don't go beyond that. So that's one reason I won't be covering Jumbo. Another reason is I kind of am disinterested in the plot. You know, from what I understand, it's about a struggling circus, and it has a featured attraction, which is an elephant named Jumbo. Now, another factor that is a strike against it is a musical. And I just try to avoid musicals like the plague. I've talked about that in earlier episodes. You know, I can't. I love music, and I do have to say Jumbo has some fabulous songs in it. More on that in a moment. But I just don't like stories and music together. There are a few exceptions, but for the most part, I'm just not into musicals. Okay, so this Billy Rose's Jumbo musical, it has some names in it, some names that we know. Doris Day is a headliner, along with Martha Ray, Jimmy Durante, and a guy named Stephen Boyd. Now, that's a name that I didn't know. But anyway, about the songs in this show, I can't really recommend the movie because I haven't seen the whole thing, but I do know some of the songs that are from this film, and they are excellent. I didn't know that they were featured in this movie. This is another example of me knowing songs before I knew that they were associated with movies. So, The Most Beautiful Girl in the World, This Can't Be Love, Little Girl Blue, and My Romance. These are four fabulous songs by that awesome duo of Rogers and Hart. So I don't know. The movie may not be all that good, but at least the songs are fabulous. So just, I don't know. If that seems like it's up your alley, you might want to give that movie a try. But my point is that, there is a treasure trove of classic films out there, and I'll never be able to get to them all. And every time I think I know all the major ones, I discover new ones. But you know what? It's kind of a fun process. And as I'm slowly making my way through, I'm trying to feature different movies on this podcast. Now, the one I want to focus on this week, of course, is Stage Door. Now, Stage Door is another one of those homages to the entertainment industry by the entertainment industry. Hollywood loves to tell stories about itself. We've seen this before on the podcast. We saw it with All About Eve. We saw it with Sunset Boulevard. And now we're seeing it with Stage Door. And of course, Stage Door came before those other two films. Now, this one features young ladies who are all trying to break into show business. They're going on auditions, they're taking bit parts, they're taking gigs as they can get them. They're hoping for that one big break. Now, where does the drama come in this story? Well, they're all living together in a boarding house. Yeah, women competing with each other to be famous, living in the same house. I mean, what could go wrong? Well, before we get to the plot, let's get a little background on this film. It was actually very, very, very loosely based on a play of the same name by Edna Ferber and George S. Kaufman. But honestly, the plot was almost completely changed. I mean, they threw new characters in. Some major plot points in the film were completely different in the stage play, from what I understand. So, loosely based on that original play. Now, by the way, we don't want to confuse Stage Door with Stage Door Canteen, which was another film. Stage Door Canteen was a musical variety World War II era kind of film released in 1943. This is not at all the same genre, not at all the same kind of film. Now, Stage Door kind of jump-started Katherine Hepburn's career because it was flagging a little bit prior to that. Ginger Rogers was also a featured player in this film, and that duo of Hepburn and Rogers seemed like really strange chemistry to me. Rogers is effervescent and fun and bubbly and absolutely beautiful. I'm a big Ginger Rogers fan. I think I mentioned in our last film, Top Hat, which she also starred in, that she's a hometown gal. She was born and grew up in my hometown of Kansas City, Missouri. So, of course, I'm going to love her. Well, Katherine Hepburn, on the other hand, was just grating and stiff and snooty. I mean, I know everybody thinks she's like this paragon of acting, but I don't know. She just doesn't do anything for me, and she just doesn't have a personality that I think I would like. I would not want to be her friend. I feel like maybe I would want to be Ginger Rogers' friend. I mean, who knows? I didn't know her in real life, of course. She may have been horrible, but I don't know. Katherine Hepburn just sort of was a cold fish type of person. Now, she ultimately ended up being nominated for, I don't know, 1 million Academy Awards, or rather, I don't know, like 10 or something. I can't remember. She was nominated multiple times. She actually won 4 Academy Awards, but just like her personality, I never really liked her acting. I watch a film that she's in and I don't believe her. She comes across to me as an actress who's acting. And I just don't want to see that in an actress. I want to forget that I'm watching a movie, and she never let me do that. Now, I apparently am not the only one who has been somewhat critical of her acting. That famous line in Stage Door about the Calla Lilies, that one that I started this show with in the cold open, that was actually taken from a play called The Lake. Now, it does feature in Stage Door, but it came from a play called The Lake, and Katherine Hepburn starred in that film. She apparently delivered that line or not the film, I'm sorry, the play. The Lake was a play. Katherine Hepburn starred in that play, and she actually recited that line in her role. This was back in 1934. Well, Dorothy Parker, I love Dorothy Parker, she very famously panned Hepburn's acting, describing her performance as running the gamut of emotions from A to B. Now, again, I love Dorothy Parker, and that is actually a very famous quote of hers, but I never knew which actress she was referring to. Well, it was Katherine Hepburn. And it's kind of funny that that is the line they used in Stage Door, and she's the one who delivers that line in this film. So kind of a little nod and a wink to a prior failure. So you got to give her that. She had a little bit of a sense of humor about herself. Not long after her appearance in this film, Katherine Hepburn went on to star in Bringing Up Baby. And due to a string of commercial failures, she landed in that famous article about actors and actresses that were deemed box office poisoned. That's right, you thought it was only Joan Crawford that had been poisoning the box offices. Not true. Hepburn was on the hit list too. Now, while we're on this subject, let's take a look at that article, where that whole box office poison thing came from. Now, if you've seen the film Mommy Dearest, that really, really horrible biographical film about Joan Crawford, you know that Crawford is enraged at one point in that film by the fact that she's labeled box office poison. So you might be curious, as I was, where that came from. Well, it was an article. Actually, you know what? It wasn't an article. It was an ad. It was an ad that had been taken out in the May 1938 issue of the Hollywood Reporter by the Independent Theater Owners Association. Now, the ad is entitled, "Wake Up, Hollywood Producers." Let's take a look at an excerpt because this is just too delicious. Are you ready? Because it's pretty brutal. All right, here it goes. Practically all of the major studios are burdened with stars whose public appeal is negligible, receiving tremendous salaries necessitated by contractual obligations. Having these stars under contract and paying them sizable sums weekly, the studios find themselves in the unhappy position of having to put these box office deterrents in expensive pictures in the hope that some return on investment might be had. This condition is not only burdensome to the studios and its stockholders, but is likewise no boon to exhibitors who, in the final analysis, suffer by the non-drawing power of these players. Among these players, whose dramatic ability is unquestioned, but whose box office draw is nil, can be numbered Mae West, Edward Arnold, Greta Garbo, Joan Crawford, Katherine Hepburn, and many, many others. Garbo, for instance, is a tremendous draw for Europe, but that does nothing to help theater owners in the United States. Hepburn turned in excellent performances in both Stage Door and Bringing Up Baby, but both pictures died at the box office. The combined salaries of these stars take millions out of the industry and millions out of the box office. Now, we're not against the star system, mind you, but we don't think it should dominate the production of pictures. We want the Myrna Loys and Gary Coopers and Sonia Henneys, but we want them when we get value, not when they drive people away from the box office. And here we meet up with a situation where the exhibitors suffer for the producer's mistakes. Producers know the stars who attract business, yet so afraid are the studios of losing a star, they tie them up for many years, with the result that stars continue to receive top salaries long after their box office ratings slide. Kay Francis, for instance, is still receiving many thousands of dollars a week from Warner's on an old contract. Yet, so poor is her draw, she's now making B pictures. Now, Paramount showed cleverness for consideration of exhibitors by buying off Marlene Dietrich's contract, which had called for one more picture. Dietrich, too, is poison at the box office. Ouch. I mean, if you were an actor mentioned here, that would be devastating to read. I mean, poor Kay Francis. I don't even know who that is. But, I mean, honestly, the point is their pay was out of proportion to the monetary value they brought to the industry. That was true then. And you have to wonder, is that still true today? Now, notice who wasn't named in this article? Ginger Rogers. Yeah, she was a big draw in the 1930s, but actually, she was a much bigger draw in the 1940s. You know, in the 1930s, she was paired up with Fred Astaire, but even when the two of them sort of went their separate ways in films, she was still, doing very well. She won an Academy Award in the 1940s, and she was working in the 50s and even the 60s. So, Ginger Rogers, she was maybe worth her big salary. I don't know. I'm just partial to her. Well, incidentally, Ginger Rogers and Lucille Ball were friends, and Rogers helped Lucille Ball get that role in Stage Door. Now, if you're used to seeing Lucille Ball only in the I Love Lucy show, well, her appearance in Stage Door, which of course predates that show by many years, is kind of startling. I mean, she was stunning. She was so beautiful. And by the way, a pretty good actress, too. Now, her role in Stage Door is fairly small, but she was a good actress. I would much rather have watched her than Katherine Hepburn. Now, another actress featured in Stage Door was Ann Miller. Now, she would go on to be a very famous and successful actress/dancer in films like Easter Parade. What else was she in? I think she was in Kiss Me, Kate. Yeah, she was in Kiss Me, Kate. She was in On the Town. She was a name, people knew. I remember seeing her on The Love Boat, probably not one of her finer performances, but anyway, she ended up having a very successful career. But in Stage Door, she was 14 years old. I almost died when I read that. I mean, she looks like she's about 30. Do you ever notice how the people of yesterday always seem to look so much older than their counterparts of today? Well, that was certainly true of Ann Miller. Now, Stage Door is sort of a comedy. It has that kind of rapid-fire sarcasm and snarkiness that you sometimes see in films of this era. But it's also a tragedy. Yes, there's a death right in the middle of the plot that you can see coming, honestly, from a mile away. But from that standpoint, it's kind of a tragedy. So I guess today we might describe Stage Door as a tragic comedy. Yeah, kind of an odd combo then, and still an odd combo today. In terms of style, like I said, it's kind of got that 1930s fast-paced, overlapping, snarky dialogue. There's a lot of snappy one-liners. They're usually insults between characters. And I will say this lends the film a little bit of realism in the boarding house scenes because, people are gathered there. They're talking as people do in small groups, and they're overlapping each other. They're interrupting each other. And that kind of played well in this film. Now, I read somewhere that the director, Greg LaCava, actually encouraged the actresses to ad lib in this film. And like I said, I think it works pretty well. Okay, so let's take a look at our stars. We've got Katherine Hepburn as Terry Randall, Ginger Rogers as Jean Maitland, Adolphe Menjou as Anthony Powell, Gail Patrick as Linda Shaw, Constance Collier as Ann Luther, Andrea Leeds as Kay Hamilton. Now, this was a really important role for her. Lucille Ball as Judy Canfield, Eve Arden as Eve, and Ann Miller as Annie. Our director is Gregory LaCava. And now for the Academy Awards stats. It had several nominations, but no wins. It was nominated for Best Picture, and LaCava was nominated for Best Director. Andrea Leeds was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and the film was also nominated for Best Screenplay Adaptation. So there's our background. Let's take a musical break with this week's featured song, and when we return, we'll take a look at the story of 1937's Stage Door. Back in a moment.
Please, everyone, listen very carefully to this message. In this portion of our program, Jennifer is going to be laying down all sorts of spoilers and will ruin all of your fun if you have not yet seen the movie. Listener discretion is advised.
Imagine this setting. The main hub for our story is the Footlights Club. This is a theatrical boarding house in the theater district of New York City. Everyone there is either trying to break into the theater or stay in the theater. Even the proprietor of the house has a theatrical background. Now, all of the ladies are young, except for Ann Luther. Now, she's a boarder who's an aging actress, and she kind of positions herself as an acting coach or a mentor. Well, the Footlights Club isn't always the most harmonious little boarding house in town. Now, here's a little clip from an early scene of the film to sort of set the stage for us. We have Ginger Rogers, Gail Patrick, and Lucille Ball on screen for a little dispute regarding pantyhose.
She swiped her last pair of stockings from me.
How do you expect me to run a respectable house?
You're doing the best you can with
I
the people.
won't be insulted by this little gutter snipe any longer.
Oh, good.
What's going on in my house?
Get the glove. I wish I had that one nice.
Seven, your differences.
I'll slap her ears flat against the back of her head.
I'd like to see you.
Well, come on down
here. What are you going to do about it? I wouldn't live with her any longer if you paid me.
No, it's the best news I've had in the past year.
I'm moving in with Madeline right away.
Oh, well, please, go very long. Everything you own is on your back.
She's down. She's up. If this barroom brawl is over...
When I get back to my room, you're the only thing I want to find missing.
Riot, heavens no. At the Footlights Club, nothing exciting ever happens here.
Enter Terry Randall. Now, this is the Katherine Hepburn character. She's quite different than the other boarders. She comes from a very well-to-do family. She's striking out on her own, not because she has this great passion for the theater, but because, I don't know, I guess because she's bored. She has nothing better to do. She doesn't want to just sit around and do rich people things, so she decides acting is the option for her. Now, she's heard about the Footlights Club, and that's where she puts herself. Now, if we contrast her with the other boarders, we can see all the differences between them. You know, these other boarders are trying to break into show business or find a husband. They'd also like to do that. They'd like to break into show business and find a husband, perhaps. But they also are needing to get money together to pay their bills, to, keep up their wardrobes and all of that. Well, Terry doesn't have to do any of that. She has a fancy wardrobe. She's got all the money she needs, and she's just kind of dabbling in the theatrical world. She doesn't seem to care about getting a husband. She doesn't seem to have great passion for the theater. And honestly, she's just kind of insufferable. She's just got that Katherine Hepburn kind of personality. I'm really being mean to Katherine Hepburn today, aren't I? But I can't help it. She just does not come across as the nicest person that you'd want to hang out with. Well, Terry ends up rooming with Jean Maitland. This is the Ginger Rogers character. Now, Maitland is sassy, sarcastic. She has kind of this running feud with another boarder named Linda Shaw, and they kind of spar with each other frequently throughout the film. And it's the sparring of those two characters where we find a lot of the comedy. There are some actually, pretty funny lines between the two of them, and they're usually in the form of insults, but they're pretty good. Now, Shaw is in a relationship, and I'm kind of using air quotes around relationship here because it's a relationship of the most superficial kind. But she's got this relationship with a much older man. He's a theatrical producer named Anthony Powell. Now, Powell is a creep. He's taking advantage of Shaw because he's a powerful man. He's got a lot of money. He's a theatrical producer, right? So he can create opportunities for her. She knows that. And so, maybe she's trying to take advantage of him as well. But certainly he's in the power position there, and he's kind of leading her on. However, that doesn't last all that long because one day Powell happens to see Jean Maitland, remember this is the Ginger Rogers character, dancing in a club. Well, I guess a club that I don't know if he owns it or if he works there or what the deal is. But anyway, he's at this club. He sees Jean Maitland dancing and he becomes enthralled by her. So he dumps Shaw and he starts to pursue Maitland. Now, again, he's a real creep, but it is kind of a little satisfying turnabout for the film because Jean Maitland and Linda Shaw were already rivals, and now they are really rivals. They're really at odds over this Powell character. Well, now we have to turn our attention to a young woman named Kay Hamilton. She's kind of an interesting counterbalance to the Terry Randall character. Now, remember, Terry is just sort of dabbling in the theater. She's kind of playing. She's just playing around. Kay Hamilton, on the other hand, is very passionate about it. I mean, this is something she's taking very, very seriously, perhaps a little too seriously. She had had some great success on the stage a year earlier. She got rave reviews. She was a big hit. But ever since that play closed, she hasn't been able to land another part. And not only that, but she's starting to run out of money. I mean, she's really in dire straits. She's skipping meals. She's malnourished. She even fainted because she hasn't been eating enough food. It's really kind of a sad situation. And even beyond that, we kind of pick up hints that Kay has a history. We don't know the details, but we do know that she landed in New York to escape what we detect was some sort of abusive situation. So the bottom line is she has no home to go back to. And throughout the film, she is very sad. Now, Hamilton does see a glimmer of hope, though. There's a new play coming out. It's called Enchanted April. And she's convinced that she was born to play the lead role. It's a role of a lifetime. And it's the role she's been waiting for. I mean, not only is the role perfect for her, but it's her last best hope for survival, honestly. And this is where the tragedy comes in. She needs this role. Does she get the role? This role that she was born for? No. Sadly, the role goes to, oh, you won't believe it, Terry Randall. No, anybody but Terry. It can't be. But it is. Now, at the audition, Randall is horrible. She's terrible. She's stiff, kind of wooden. She has no feeling at all. She's simply reciting the lines. There's no feeling, no emotional. I mean, no emotion, rather. She's just horrible. Now, if she's so bad in the audition, why did she get the role? Well, because, unbeknownst to her, Terry Randall's father financed the production. Yeah, he was there to kind of make a way for her. And Anthony Powell, that producer, had to cast her in the lead. He couldn't see any way around it, even though he knew she was going to be horrible. Well, this is a very heartbreaking development for poor Kay Hamilton. On opening night, we see Terry in her room there at the Footlights Club, and she's pacing, she's jittery, she's fretting about the opening line. She's like, if I could just get past the Calla Lilies line, she should be okay. Well, Kay offers a suggestion.
It's that first speech. If I could only get through that, I'd be all right. Would you mind watching, Kay?
The Calla lilies are in bloom again. Such a strange flower, suitable to any occasion.
May I make a suggestion?
I wish you would.
The way you hold the flowers. I've always thought that Jeanette would hold them as she would a child. They never had a child, you see, and...
Oh, I see. Do you suppose that's what the author intended?
I'm sure he did. And when she says, in memory of something that has died, she...
Kay, you know this play.
It's not a play. It really happened to someone I know.
Darling, you mustn't do that.
This isn't just your night. It's my night, too. You've got to be a success tonight. You've got to give a great performance, no matter what happens.
Is something the matter?
No, I'm just excited, that's all. Here, you sit down and I'll get you some tea.
Well, I think you can hear in that clip that Kay is barely holding it together. And shortly thereafter, she throws herself out of a window. Yeah, pretty sad stuff. Now, this is where I feel like the storyline gets a little wonky. At the theater, okay, so Terry's at the theater. She doesn't know that Kay has thrown herself out the window. So she's getting ready to go on. Well, Jean Maitland is so mad at her. This is a Ginger Rogers character. She's so mad that she goes to the theater. She barges into her dressing room and tells Terry that Kay killed herself because she lost that part. Well, Terry's devastated by this, and she decides she can't go on. She just can't do it. But Ann Luther is there. Remember Ann Luther? She is the older woman, the aging actress, who's kind of set herself up as a mentor for Terry Randall. Well, she gives this impassioned speech, kind of the show must go on type of thing. And, she actually delivers a line that I think is kind of interesting. She says, "It's only after we have suffered can we make the audience feel with us. It takes more than grease paint and footlights to make an actress. It takes heartbreak as well." Okay, so we kind of get this idea that Terry Randall is a poor actress because everything's been so easy for her. Remember, she comes from a well-to-do family. Even this part she got only because of her father. And so, she hasn't been that suffering artist that she needs to be to actually be a great actress and deliver a solid performance. Okay, well, this whole Kay Hamilton thing gives her the sorrow that she needed. And, so she does go on and she's a hit. She's so sad and she's so guilty about having stolen this role, which she feels like she, stole the role from Kay Hamilton, that she goes out on stage and she gives this sad little speech in character. And everyone's like, wow, what a great actress she is. When in reality, she was just really sad. She was sad in real life, And then at the curtain call, she's a big hit. At the curtain call, she gives a little speech as a tribute to her dead friend. Well, this warms Jean's heart, the Ginger Rogers character, and the two are reconciled. So, there we have it. Life goes on at the Footlights Club. And just as the story is coming to a close, a newcomer arrives at that same door at the boarding house. It's a young lady. She's hoping to break into show business, and the cycle continues. Now, let's stop here for a moment for a word from our sponsor. Wait a minute. Nico, do we have a word from our sponsor? Nico.
Everyone comes to Zootopia thinking they can be anything they want. Well, you cannot. You can only be what you are.
What?
That's my line.
What line? What are you talking about?
Nick Wilde, from Zootopia.
What in the... Oh, wait a minute. Are you working on your audition?
Of course.
Well, Nico, I need you to focus. Do we have a spot from the T-Ball people?
Do we? Yes, I'm sure we do. It's around here, somewhere. Hold on.
I don't know why I ever said anything about that animatronics audition.
Yes, I have it right here.
Tenderleaf brand tea balls outsell every other kind. They serve so much better because they're superior in every way. They contain finer tea, a blend of the small top tea leaves, the kind you get in Tenderleaf brand tea, put up in packages too. Either way, you get more delicious tea because the young, tender choice leaves are immeasurably better than the coarse old ones for tempting fragrance and satisfying flavor. And then, too, improved Tenderleaf brand tea balls are made with tasteless filter paper. That's a special paper that filters your tea as you're making it. Only the tea goodness can pass through its meshes into your cup. Enjoy it for breakfast these spring days and with other meals, too. Next time and every time, ask your grocer for Tenderleaf brand tea in packages or in Tenderleaf brand tea balls, largest selling tea balls in America.
Listeners, I invite you to sit back and relax with an inspiring beverage. Maybe also get a pillow, as I am about to share with you some otherwise boring information about how Jennifer rates the films in this series. Films are placed into one of these categories. Unwatchable. These films are very bad. I beg you, do not be a fool and watch them. They are not worth your time. Then there are watchable films. These films are okay. You have my permission to watch them. They are entertaining and a nice way to pass the time. But please understand me when I say that these watchable films will not change the trajectory of your life in any way. Yes, I suppose you could watch them a second time. But come now, why would you want to? And now we come to our last group, the rewatchable films. These films are very good. You may think your life is already complete. I'm here to tell you it is not. Only when you have watched these films over and over and over again can you truly say you have lived. So friends and ladies, those are our film categories. Unwatchable, watchable, and rewatchable. Now Jennifer has some sort of worksheet she uses to categorize the films, but no one really cares about that. So, we move on. Are there any questions? No? Very good. I thank you for your attention. Now, let's get on with the show.
Well, I actually liked a lot of things about Stage Door, so let's break it down. For story, I gave it 4 diamonds. It was pretty entertaining. For character development, 4 diamonds. Writing, I gave it 4 diamonds, mainly because of that banter between Ginger Rogers and other characters in the film. I thought they were, some good singers there. They were kind of fun. Now, now that I think about it, I did mention that there was some ad-libbing that went on. I don't know if any of that was ad-libbing or if that all had to do with writing, but, we'll give writing a 4 diamond rating. Pace gets 4 diamonds, and then there's discussability. Now, this is where we bump up the score a little bit. I gave it a discussability score of 5 diamonds. Now, there are some facets to this story that we can really explore and discuss. For example, what is the nature of acting? Terry Randall has a line where she says, "Isn't faking really just the essence of acting?" Well, is that what acting is? Is it just kind of pretending, or is it something more? What were these girls really chasing after? I mean, were they chasing fame or artistic expression? Did they really want to be actresses? Or would just being celebrities be just as good? What was Kay's motivation? Did she just look to the stage as an escape from reality, or did she really want to convey something important for the world? And then what about Terry Randall? After Kay's death, while she was, really feeling sad, she was able to perform a sad scene on the stage. But was that really acting, or was it just naturally expressing her real emotions, her real sadness? And does it matter? I mean, I think there's a lot that you can dive into here. So, 5 diamonds for this one. All right, that leads us to a total of 4.2 diamonds. So that is a high watchable, rewatchable score. So well done, ladies of Stage Door. Okay, so that's our take on Stage Door. I watched this on Amazon Prime. I don't think it's streaming anywhere for free right now, but you know what? On Prime, I think it was $3 or $4, and I would say it's worth it. So if you're looking for something to watch, Stage Door is worth the time. Give it a watch. Now for our wild card list of topics. Item 1, stories to sleep by. Now, I think I've mentioned once or twice, or maybe 12 times in the past, that I have a terrible problem with insomnia. Any night, or I should say early morning of the year, you can usually find me kind of flip-flopping around on my bed, trying to get comfortable so I can sleep. But you know how it is. The harder I try, the more awake I am. And, it's just me being miserable. Well, that's when I turn on an old radio show from the 1970s that's readily available out on the internet. You can find it with an easy Google search or on YouTube or really any of the podcast platforms. And that show is called the CBS Radio Mystery Theater.
Come in. Welcome.
This is a radio show that I remember from when I was a little girl. You know, they played reruns on the early evenings, and I remember listening to the show on car rides home from my grandma's house. This is the show, I think, that really ignited my love of radio drama, you know, because you had to use your imagination to kind of picture the scenes of the story. There were sound effects and things, but you couldn't see the people, and I loved that. Well, I had completely forgotten about that show until several years ago when I discovered the entire series, all 1,400 episodes. Yes, 1,400 episodes. And they're out there available for free on the internet, the entire series. Well, I nearly died when I discovered this. Now, listening as an adult is a little different than it was when I was a kid. I mean, for one thing, this series is dark. Darker than I remember, sometimes kind of disturbing. I mean, there's murder and just really sinister stuff happening on this show. Now, I haven't listened to all the episodes. I mean, there's just too many of them, but I've listened to probably a couple hundred of them at least. And most of them are pretty unsatisfying, if I'm honest. But, you know, there are a few good ones. And even though a lot of them are unsatisfying, I still find it pretty fun to listen to them when I'm flopping around trying to get some sleep. This is definitely a nighttime show. You know, you close your eyes, you just let the story play out in your head. Well, 1,400 episodes is a lot to wade through. But fear not, because I have put together a list of 5 favorites. If you want to go out, give these a listen, and you're overwhelmed by the sheer number of episodes, and like I said, a lot of them are not that great, I suggest you start with these 5. Now, I like these 5. They're as weird as all get out. I mean, they are just like the weirdest stories you have ever heard. I don't know even what genre you would put these in. I mean, are they adventure stories? Are they sci-fi? Are they fantasy? I don't know. Maybe they're all 3 of those, but they're very interesting stories. I mean, these are the ones that I kept wanting to listen because I'm like, how can this possibly end? You know, what is going to happen to resolve this crazy story? All right. So get your pencils ready to jot these down, and don't worry, there are not going to be any spoilers here, okay? That would ruin the whole show. So no spoilers, but I will give you a little teaser. Okay, recommendation number 1 is an episode called Garden of the Moon. Now, here's what it's about. A cosmetics executive becomes intrigued by a new health store brand of makeup. She purchases a product line which is marketed as being enhanced by moonlight. After applying the cosmetics, she finds herself drawn into strange behavior. For instance, she develops an intense desire for moonbathing. Yes, moonbathing, going out and just soaking up the moon. Well, her husband grows alarmed at this. I don't know why, but he grows alarmed and he warns her about this kind of crazy store and the mysterious effects of its products. Well, undeterred, she digs deeper into this store's claims, seeking to acquire their secret formula for the rejuvenating cream she's been using. In the end, she pays a heavy price. What seemed like a promising path to beauty and vitality turns into something eerie and unexpected. Yeah, this one really does end in something unexpected. You won't see the ending coming. It's just, well, maybe you will. I don't know. I didn't. It's weird. It's just got a very weird ending. Recommendation number 2, The Island on Silvertree Lake. Well, I really like this one. This one had me enthralled. In fact, I kind of listened to it twice because I was so into it. In this one, a woman's car, well, it doesn't break down. I was going to say a woman's car breaks down. No, she has a car accident. Her car is undrivable, and she's sort of out in the middle of nowhere. Well, she ends up taking a boat ride to this island in the middle of a lake that has a resort on it. But once she gets to that island, she finds that the place is really strange. And then she realizes that she's become kind of captive. She's sort of an unwilling participant in this crazy mystery that is, she discovers it's not your run-of-the-mill resort, okay? And she's sort of trapped there. All right, so that's as far as I'm going to go with that story, but it has an ending that you can start to see about middle of the way, but it's a fun one. Okay, recommendation number 3, The Thing in the Cave. In this one, we've got a group of 4 friends who venture into this cavern, and it has a local legend that something is lurking within the cavern. Well, they get trapped in there when this rock collapses and it blocks their exit. And so now they got to figure out how are they going to get out, if they ever can. And also, what's going on with this creature that may or may not be real. So it's kind of a fun adventure story. Recommendation number 4, Land of the Living Dead. 2 scientists travel to Brazil to investigate a remote village. En route, their plans go awry. They find themselves stranded at a strange regional airport, and then they end up, going to this village that's inhabited by a kind of strange ritual-driven tribe. But as they spend more time there, they start to sense that this settlement is isolated not just geographically, but spiritually. And its customs are kind of unsettling, and they become increasingly uneasy. All right, so again, I'm going to stop right there, but it's kind of cool where you discover what that island is. Okay, this last recommendation is probably my favorite. It's called Taken for Granted. And I'm saying granite, Granite. This story gets some points for a clever title, Taken for Granted. Okay, this is about a garden of statues and this kind of crazy, weird caretaker. Now, the statues in the garden that they're in is designed to kind of feature the celebrated works of this famed sculptor. But there's a much darker story here, and it's disturbing and very weird. But it's enjoyable. You're in the middle of the night, you can't sleep. Why not listen to this story? Taken for granted. All right, so those are my recommendations. They're wild, they're a little disturbing, especially that last one. But as I'm working my way through the episodes, these are the best of the best so far. You might want to check them out if you're looking for a new source of audio-only entertainment. Item 2, I've got a book for you to read and a book to, avoid. So I'm continuing my reading project. I'm trying to get back into reading more novels. I used to read novels constantly. And then, I got out of the habit. I still read, but I read a lot of nonfiction. But I love stories. So I've decided I really need to get back into reading novels. Get back into that novel reading groove. Well, I just finished a really fascinating book that is right up our alley here on the Idle Hour. It's called The Director by Daniel Kellman. It's a fictionalized story involving a real Austrian filmmaker who leaves Hollywood to go back to Austria right before World War II begins. And, he ends up getting trapped there when the Nazis take over. He ends up kind of getting tangled up in some Nazi propaganda, in the Nazi propaganda machine. And the central conflict involves tension between his kind of growing obsession and artistic drive, this drive to create the perfect film, and his principles. I actually read this on the beach last month during my latest trip to Florida, and it was excellent. I loved it. It is so good. I highly recommend it. The Director by Daniel Kellman. Yeah, I'm just full of recommendations today. And here's one I can't recommend. And, I feel guilty about this. I feel ashamed to say this, but it's The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. I want to love it. I do. I know I should love it. It's one of the greatest works of literature the world has ever known, or so I've been told. But man, oh man, it is a slog. I'm not giving up. I'm still chipping away at it. It may take me a year to get through this book, but it's very slow going, and I am on the cusp of giving up. But no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to keep going. But I'll tell you what, this one is only for the stout-hearted. You have to persevere to get through that one. And that leads us to item 3. I have an announcement. I just started a new Substack. Yeah, that's right. Another creative outlet for me. And like I said at the beginning, if you're thinking to yourself, wow, I can't get enough of Jennifer Passarello. She doesn't come out with these podcast episodes enough. Where can I get myself some more Jennifer Passarello? Yeah, I know. No one is saying that. But anyway, I've got a Substack that if you're curious, I'll put links in the show notes. But my Substack is called The Idle Hour Notebook. Now, don't let the name deceive you. This really has nothing to do, or very little to do at this point, with the podcast. This is all about my collection of little reading and writing assignments that I'm doing in my own commonplace notebook. I'm just sharing them. I'm putting them out there on Substack in the ether. So this is really a personal project for me. I love to work in my commonplace book, and I have little writing prompts and other things that I'm using, and I'm putting them out there on the Idle Hour Notebook. So I don't know. I'm really kind of getting into Substack. I'm still learning it. I'm learning that platform, but if you are into that kind of thing, you might want to go and check me out. It's the Idle Hour Notebook.
Hey, Jennifer.
Hey, Nico. How's the audition prep going?
I'm taking a break.
Oh, good idea. Well, what's up?
I have an idea for a new show segment.
Yeah? Well, what's the idea?
We can select our favorite listener comment and feature it on the show.
Nico, that would be a great idea. Really, really a great idea. But we almost never get any comments. And when we do, they're kind of mean, and I delete those. I don't want to feature those on the show.
I have a comment ready that's perfect.
Wow, really? Okay, well, let's hear it.
I just found your podcast. I really like it. It is really good.
A listener posted that?
Well, sort of, yes.
Wait a minute. What do you mean, sort of?
Well, I myself am a listener, aren't I?
So, you want to feature your own comment on our show?
Yes, it adds a little flavor to the show. Almost as if we had a devoted audience.
I don't hate the idea, actually.
Come now, it's brilliant. Admit it.
Well, I mean, it's only one comment, and it's made up.
I have another one.
Oh, you do you?
Nico is very talented. He should be given a bigger role on this show.
There it is. I knew that was coming. Ah, saved by the clock. Now that's our signal to wrap up. Thanks for tuning in and hanging out with us. Next week's show is going to feature 2 films, both from the scary film genre. The first is Village of the Damned from 1960, and the second one is one you may never have heard of. It's called I Bury the Living from 1958. Now, if you want to come along for the ride, watch these films before tuning in, and we can explore them together. Well, in the meantime, have a great week, everybody. Bye for now. Say goodbye, Nico.
Goodbye, Nico.